Live Flow. So
Ooh.
we're gonna do more stuff with Live
Live
Flow,
flow's
Nicole.
back.
Yeah, Live Flow is back for good. So we're gonna continue this train of Live Flow. Flow. You have a beautiful testimonial that you wrote for Live Flow.
Yes, I love it. I'll tell you how I'm using LiveFlow. I'm using it for a handful of different use cases. Automating month-end close, number one use case. So our process is that the bookkeeper or preparer goes in, does the month-end close. So if you have a prepaid schedule, the prepaid schedule ties the balance sheet. You can automate anything in the GL detail. You can automate AP aging, AR aging. So my goal with the workbooks is so that whoever the accounting manager reviewer is can go in there and review a month-end file in 15 minutes because the bookkeeper has done all the work and done their own self-check.
So that's automation with an exclamation mark.
Yes, it's pretty dope.
Dope books.
Dope books. Okay.
Dopebooks.com.
Second use case. I built out a forecast in Google Sheets and the live data from
No way.
QBO comes in, right? The actuals. So I'm reviewing the accounting and we have to update something. You just literally hit the little button and it refreshes everything. So you can see the numbers change in front of you.
That's true automation.
We finally hacked it and did it. Like, it's so cool.
Wow. You're a programmer.
I'm actually a paying user, so I actually pay LifeFlow to use the product.
Yeah. It's the truth in advertising and the truth in product feedback. I don't want to just run one and done ads anymore. That's not what we do with this show. We have PR partners. We have people that we are going to partner with long term, and that's the solution for this problem. And I write a RAAP for them, and we do another case study, and we refresh that, and we give them sound bites and things that they can use. So we're an arm for them to use as PR. So if they need an announcement and they need to get something out to their people, we're that megaphone. We're not affiliated with them. We're partnered with them. Or I guess we're affiliated, but we're just more or less partner with them. Anita's awesome. I love her. And so we're going to have Terrell come on a little bit more to do things with Live Flow.
May I have your attention, please?
Put your party pants on because it's time for a varsity party with the queen and kings of Party FOMO. Your favorite Accounting High trio is back. Kenji, Nicole, and Scott are here to chat all about their lessons learned. This episode is sure to give you a good laugh. So turn up the volume, fill up your cup, and enjoy this varsity party here at Accounting High.
I repeat, may I have your attention, please?
This is another public service announcement brought to you in part
by Accounting High,
the views and events expressed here are
of the next generation of accounting and tech professionals leading this space.
The events and suggestions are not to be taken lightly. Children should not partake in the listening
of this podcast.
Anything else?
Yeah.
So without further ado, introducing the star of our show,
The Varsity Party, Kenji, Scotty, and Nix.
we're gonna have a problem here.
Very festive here. You are both like, I feel like this is Christmas with those maroon like sweaters, both of you. Or Kenji's wearing a shirt, but you guys look nice today. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
This is our ritual now, isn't it? This is
It's a tradition.
Yeah, this is fun. Thank you guys for hanging out today. I'm not going to start out the way I did last time because it's not as funny. You can't repeat the same joke twice, right? I can't say this is a Valentine's Day threesome because it's just not funny anymore, right? We've already
Was
done
that
that.
a year ago?
That was a year ago today.
Holy crap.
That's how these things work, Nicole. They're a year apart. It's on the same day each year.
This lunar
and by the
New Year
way,
too, right?
There are plenty of things that we say over and over again that we still find funny.
Okay.
I'm
It's
just saying.
timing and the delivery of jokes. And I'm learning that with my raps too, that it's got to be the right timing and delivery for the punchlines and like for jokes anyway. Like my rap is another form of stand-up comedy or comedic undertones there. Same with this podcast, or at least in my mind it is. So my mom got me a book for Christmas. How to Rap. She got me 2 versions of it too. There's like a
How to Rap 1 and a How to Rap 2. This ties into the podcast too, or the conversation, but the way it's laid out is he takes different aspects of rap and breaks, that's how the chapters are broken out, and then sections in each chapter. So I'm on the content, and there's just different quotes from each rapper about storytelling and rapping and making the content fit. The way that it's all laid out, because of the quotes and because somebody ties it all together, I saw a vision for the Accounting High book, right? How to run an accounting firm. And it's just quotes from all the guests and all the different people that we've had on, you guys too. And there's different chapters broken out by theme. Each chapter starts with the letter P, and each theme goes through those topics. So as we get on the chapter of partners, bits and pieces of this episode will be in that book, and we will be quoted discussing it. That's how I was bridging it all together. Back to my story. So I'm reading the book, and there was a line from Rakim, and Kenji usually sends me tracks of like Eric B and Rakim. So I thought he might know this song, No Omega. And in the verse that they quoted was, and they were talking about just the layers of like wordplay. And an example was, no Omega, I'm the alpha with no Omega, I'm the beginning with no end. Something like that. Like, I'm trying to quote it. So the alpha, omega is the last letter of the Greek alphabet. With no omega, that means the beginning with no end, right? That's kind of the joke. And then I had a line that came in my head, and I texted it to you guys. And it was, I remember no omega, where Rakim said, I'm the beginning with no end. I'm like an A with no Z. I'm a pocket with no posy. My flow's so sick, I'll sneeze out your nosy. On both knees, hold please, don't freeze. Hope you're feeling nice and cozy. And then I sent you guys a little kiss. Not as good as I thought it was? No?
It was thoughtful of you, Scott.
It was like my little Valentine's gift to you guys.
A little Valentine's gift.
I think it needed to be rapped verbally. Now that I hear it, it makes more sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
The posy thing. See, I was just like getting words that rhyme with no Z. Like A with no Z, a pocket with no posy. My flow's so sick, I sneeze out your nosy. On both knees, hold please, don't freeze. Hope you feeling nice and cozy. Like, I heard it in my head, but that's the imagination gap that Dave Barrett was talking about. Like, you can't beat a song and the other person know what you're saying, because the illustrious like vision of it's stuck in my head. And this is the problem that I have in life. Like, I'm trying to convey my vision, and people don't see it. So,
well, you'd thank your mom for the rapping books.
Thanks, Mom.
They're working.
Thanks, Mom. Are they working? Like, you say that in jest, but a lot of truth is said in jest.
I mean, you can take it however you want, Scott.
All right, cool.
I mean, listen, I got a nice Valentine's Day rap, so I mean, I feel like I won. We won out in this, Nicole and I did.
You both did win. I thought of you immediately when I thought of the rhymes, and I thought you guys would laugh hysterically. I thought I would get a bunch of responses back, like with GIFs and stuff, and I got nothing. I got crickets.
You said it late. I think I was already in bed.
It was like 12:30. I know. I was way past my bedtime.
I saw it and I didn't read it. And then, now that you explain it and you said it live, it's good. I like it, especially like the sneeze out your nosy line.
Because it was A with no Z. That's where I had to keep going, because I was like A with no Z, and then I was like nosy.
But it's so sick. It took me a second to get that. That's funny. I like it.
That's the wordplay that I'm going for. That's and I flipped the alpha with no omega, right? Like the A with no Z. And then I just kept going. I'm a pocket with no posy. Like, I was like, that's.
I think I'm just not smart enough for your raps. Like the alpha omega one, I didn't know. I wouldn't have put that together.
Yeah.
I thought those were just fraternity.
So that's actually a compliment, the way you just said that I'm not smart enough for your raps. All right. Dope. Thank you.
So you're encouraging him in a bad way.
So previously on Nick's Tips Plus on Partners. So let me set the stage a little bit more too before we dive into the conversation. I know I just like kicked it off with my rap, but it was for you guys. Happy Valentine's Day. So last year on Valentine's Day, we three recorded, and I have some clips of that And I feel like we can go deeper on partners because Nicole's and my perspective has changed. Kenji, you're a rock. I think that you're probably constant. We could play last year's clip or this year's clip. You're going to be saying the same thing. But me and Nicole we're like liquids. We're weaving around the rocks, and our minds change daily. We forget what we say. We have to listen to our episodes back because we forgot what we said last year. So, are you guys ready for
Ready.
Previously on? This is the trailer.
Oh boy.
Yeah, ready.
Today's plus episode, we have a +1. This is the Valentine's special. We're having a threesome on partners.
It's my favorite part of every episode is your inappropriate analogies.
Scott's even dressed up.
I think I heard the definition once of the best partnerships are when both sides feel that they got the better end of the deal.
I hope to never do anything by myself again the rest of my life. Like I'm tired of this self-starter.
I work better if I'm working for other people.
So speaking of family, friends, and business partners, this week is in particular is getting very incestuous. With Valentine's Day, we've got Matthew on as a special guest on Friday. Tell us how you met Matthew. Was it love at first sight? Or did you just go and ask him to marry on the first date?
You're just
like
trying
brothers,
to find ways to drop
you're like,
inappropriate comments.
I'm very cerebral. That's what my uncle says. My uncle listens to this.
Brandon, so how big is a cutie today in revenue or employees, whatever you want to share with us?
We're about 150 team members. Revenue wise, we are targeting this year to do 11 million in revenue.
And now you're still in the second trimester of this whole baby of acuity.
That baby's almost a toddler.
Fetching clouds. There's no abortion on the way,
no, not
right?
a toddler.
So you're going to have this baby.
This baby's not a toddler yet.
Tell us, are you nervous still?
See, he's always like this, isn't he? I kid you, Scott, and I love you, especially on Valentine's Day. Having people that, whether you want to have them inside of your firm as partners
in crime to pal around
or
with.
have partners in crime, which is very apropos of you two.
You know, I'm very childish.
I think when both sides feel like, sweet, I'm getting the good end of the deal on this, you've got a really good, powerful partnership where people are aligned.
You killed it with the P's right there. A powerful partnership where people are aligned.
You know, I realize I'm very childish. Like, I interrupt people. I say inappropriate things. No wonder you guys call me a toddler.
Yeah, that's true. Going back and listening to this is when you...
Yeah, a year later. Like, and I didn't even realize it until you guys were here. And I'm like, what am I doing? I don't know. So I'm self-reflecting.
I just realized how much I dislike listening to myself. That's what I realize.
Me too. I miss the pops.
You miss the pops?
Pops? Oh, yeah, those are fun.
I mean, I do, but they're nostalgic now, right? Like it's almost like they were too much. Like I saw the pops every day. I see them in my mind's eye. So aside from us getting over ourselves, initial thoughts, we're going to talk about partners today. We are not on a P kick. We are on a pillar kick, right? We're working on our important topics, themes of Accounting High. We're working on our curriculum here, okay? And I think partners is a very important part of the curriculum of running a professional accounting firm. What do you guys think?
My stance on partners is, your earlier point, has it changed? Probably not materially. I said last time I was here, and I'll say it again, that I learned earlier on owning a firm that I do better with partners. I just do better. I do operate better. I think better. I think I feel better having partners. So I'm a big proponent of having partners as a pillar in your practice.
Mm-hmm.
Like that? Brought those P's back.
Dig it.
So yeah, I'm
perfect.
It's not easy having partners, but for me, the value is greatly outweighed.
Scott, did you say that you're talking about that with Chris?
Mm-hmm. Well, the talks are underway, and we're doing more of an equity exchange for cash type deal. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to be structured, but I think over the course of the next 3 years, he'll have 30%. I think what we're doing is 10% a year. I'm not sure, again, on the details because we haven't confirmed everything, but I think also we're going to figure out a way of incorporating the team, because my team is a core team that's been with me for, Chris been over 10 years, Matthew 5 years. Everybody's basically 5 years plus. So what's a way that everybody can be aligned and incentivized, at least the team that's here still. And yeah, so again, I don't know what that looks like yet. So this is good discussion here. Nicole, our listeners know, and we know that Ashley's very ambitious, and we're gonna see what your thoughts were last year. But what do you think your opinions or thoughts have they shifted? Are they basically the same?
I think I have more clarity on what I want now. And I think that's probably the first place to start. And I know that Ashley makes my life better. So I think there's going to be a way that we can make something work for both of us. I am curious, and maybe Kenji has some insight on this, of other than equity as a way to compensate a key employee, is there other tools like phantom equity, or there are other types of ways that you've seen, Kenji, in your career working with clients that have worked? Or if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah. I guess before I give thoughts on that, one thing just popped into my head from friend Brittany Brown, who runs Ledger Gurus. She's a member of an accounting salon, and last year I remember her saying this in her session, and it was essentially that one of the really important benefits that employees have that partners don't have is they get to leave whenever they want to leave. Right? I always remember that because we were going through all this back and forth, and I know I've had times when I've been frustrated, like, why doesn't everybody want to jump in and do all this? And I think that's something that as a owner, I forget about sometimes, is that people like joked about it being married, all the things last time around. It is like that. I think Brittany made a good point of like, that is an actual benefit that many people and team members should look at, like, hey, I like Kenji. I like Nicole. I like Scott. I like working here at this firm, but like, it may not be forever for me. I may need to bounce. And that was something that Brittany just called out. I thought was a good point, that I, as an owner, I don't have that mentality. I'm like, I'm locked in. This is what we're doing. So anyway, but I guess to maybe emphasize that point, or maybe to support it a bit. Yeah, there are other mechanisms where you can reward people based on the overall performance of the business that don't have to be forever. They don't have to be fully on like equity does or membership interest. Just even this year at Acuity, we did a tier of team members and kind of rolled out profit sharing more widely based on true EBITDA, and to engage some team members a little more deeply that we felt had an impact overall on the business. And that's profit sharing plan is pretty much just a pure bonus plan. But you mentioned, Nicole, things like phantom stock, or sometimes referred to as synthetic equity. I mean, you can emulate aspects of equity, right? That value is accretive to someone. They can participate in that value when that value increases. And there are ways to emulate that. It doesn't have to be just ownership. Because the challenge with ownership is liability comes in with it too. It's tricky. You really are. It doesn't mean that you're locked in forever, but you're locked in a lot more there. So phantom stock, done that before for clients, helped them through that. Other forms of bonus plans, again, that you may have to vest into over time, or you can redeem for cash. The challenge with those, I said, sometimes this gets, I think, accountants particularly worked up. Not just accountants, but a lot of people, is that they don't have some of the tax benefits always, because you're essentially you're building a bonus plan. And so you're still going to get hit with you're going to be taxed like it's ordinary income, just like it would be another type of bonus. So sometimes people are like, well, I'd rather do equity. I'd rather make it like a distribution or something that has value that I can do cap gains on, or something different. And that's right. That's accurate, but it's going to be a lot less flexible. You can kind of make these plans. You can, again, something I've seen a lot with phantom equity is you can tier it as well too. It does not have to be offered to every employee. They still usually have to be documented, and you have to go through some legalities there and 401as and stuff. But I mean, it's not that hard to set up, and doesn't mean you have to offer it to every single individual. But yeah, all form of deferred comp plans that may get people to stay longer because they want to see that value appreciate over time. They may need to stay for a period of time just to kind of capture all that value. So there's some good retention mechanisms, but you essentially can still, that's the downside, is it's still ordinary income, however you skin it. And people sometimes want to try to get around that and go, hey, I'm in this for the longer term. I'd rather have actual equity. So yeah, there's a few different ways to go.
I know someone from EO that he basically built his business and then put in a CEO. And so the deal that they have is the guy that originally founded it, he pulls out the first 400,000 of profit, and then anything above that they split, and it's like tiered, I think, based on how much. So sounds like there's all sorts of ways you can do it.
You can get super creative. Yeah, you can get super creative with it for sure. I mean, hitting different thresholds, setting the bar higher. Again, I think one that I typically see when people start talking about it being a synthetic form of equity is having a vesting schedule of some sort. But you still have to do some sense of valuation. The other thing with that, in some cases, that's not bad, because with equity, you need, in many cases, to really capture all the value, you need a monetization event. You need something to actually trigger, like, okay, your value in the business, which is accounting firms. We don't have the highest valuations out there, just to be very clear. We're not like a tech company. We're not going to have those huge valuations. Then again, nobody has huge valuations right now. Mm-hmm. But you can still get distributions, but I hear this all the time. I see this with clients where they're like, yeah, here's our equity split, but like, hey, we're not distributing anything because we're not cash flowing right now, right? So people often think like, oh, I had this much profit. And they go, okay, great. Wow. So all of you split that much. That sounds awesome. And then you look at it, and I think, Nicole, you actually talk about this a lot on LinkedIn. Like, people assume their profits and cash flows are going to be the same thing. They're not, because whether you get receivable issues or other collections issues. So even if you're distributing based on your equity percentages, sometimes you're locked up with capital improvements or other things you've had to spend on, and you're not getting all that cash out of the business. So there's some things to consider there, that even if you do take on the equity, you're like, wait a minute, I thought I was going to be getting rolling in cash here. And it's like, no, sorry, we had to go out and load up on a whole new computer system this year, or Salesforce licenses, or prepaid a bunch of things, or receivables suck right now. And you're like, damn it, I didn't get to distribute nearly as much as I thought.
Stop. Don't drop your source docs in a shoebox. Oh, no. Taxable income is not cash flow.
Scotty.
That's the rap I'm working on.
What a good timing to drop that in there. I like it.
Well, it's because you said profit is not cash flow, right? Yeah.
Right.
So I said taxable income. I mean, I could say profit, but this is the tax accountant's anthem that we're working on here, not the Rough Riders anthem. So I don't want to keep doing that, because I had another epiphany as you were talking. I'm just inserting myself in here, and then we can go back to the conversation. So How to RAAP is going to be the name of the book. It'll be Accounting Highs, How to RAAP with 2 A's, RAAP, Run an Accounting Practice. That's too good, isn't it? It's going to be just like the How to RAAP book, but about running an accounting practice. It's going to be dope. All right.
I've heard a lot of horror stories about people who have partners, and I just have no desire to actually have an equity partner, because it terrifies me. Because I've seen tons of clients that decide to start a business and they don't want to do it by themselves. So they're like, oh, let me pair up with my friend and we're going to start a business together.
Wait. Flow's so sick it'll blow out you nosy, because flow and blow rhyme.
And then one partner wants to take money out of the business because of a family, and then the other partner doesn't have a family, so they want to invest the money back into the business. So it seems like you and Matthew have been really good partners, and then now you've added on
the Sharps. So just interested to see what was life before that, and how's that dynamic changed now that you have more partners.
So, and Ackerman says you should never have a partnership, never, but he does with his dad. You know, it's almost like you and Matthew are like brothers or like relatives. You know, anytime something gets really hard, Chris always says, all right, you own the firm. I mean, you decide. Like he almost defers everything to me. You have a partner that you can share the decisions and share the ups and downs, the wins and losses, the highs and lows, the roller coaster ride of running a firm or owning a business.
I think, Nicole, you asked a question. Scott did not. Scott just kind of went rambling, and as he does. Nicole actually asked a question like, what was it life like now compared to before? Like when I was one partner, and then I even have experience when there was no partners. I bought out a partner. Actually, my first partner, I don't know if you guys knew this, in Acuity, I bought him out. I have a totally different partner that I bought out.
Before Matthew.
Before Matthew. Then I ran it by myself for a while. So
How did you guys partner up?
he was my boss at one point, way back in the day. We decided to get together and kind of launch Acuity, do outsourced CFO work for startups. And so we were together for, I think, 8 years. It was a good partnership. I mean, he and I are still really close to this day.
This is riveting for you, Kenji. You're learning a lot about this guy. So,
Kenji doesn't wear his glasses anymore.
Yeah, well, he always metamorphosis. He's got to like.
Depends on it all depends on my. Yeah, it's true. It's all depends on my disguise.
You've got like
it's
about.
Also, if I did a hard workout versus kind of an easier workout, and I'm lazy, I don't want to get back and change my glasses. But
because your glasses,
I must not have worked out. I can tell I didn't work out very hard that day. I don't look like my energy is very good. I'm kind of there with my glasses on. Yeah.
Options though, like different. I now have different hats that I can wear for different occasions or different moods, and so everything matches. I dig it. I don't have the option to take my glasses off though. Like I don't have the eyesight or contacts, so.
You know, things you got to do when you get older sometimes.
I aspire.
Okay, so Kenji, how long had the Sharps been partners at that point? That was pretty new.
First trimester, class, right? Or second trimester.
Yeah. Oh, when we recorded a year ago?
Yeah,
that was probably 6 months.
6 months. Okay, so it's been a year and a half now.
Yeah, it's about a year and a half now. Yeah.
And do you have anything to add to that, or anything that's changed? Has there been any challenges?
I think there's always challenges. There's always. I mean, I think any partnership, it's a relationship, right? You got relationships, so there's highs, there's lows. I'd say one thing that I think I actually really appreciate about the two of them. I don't know how they do it, 'cause I could not, but like it's pretty interesting. I give them a lot of respect for them being a married couple, being business partners. That's just a dynamic that I talk about. I feel like taking the level up even higher to make something work. Like that is hard. So I give them huge props because they do a great job of supporting each other, but also being, individuals as partners as well too. Like, right. They support each other, but they're also willing to step up and make tough decisions, even if they're not on the same page and things. So they do a really good job of being like partners in everything in life and also in the business. And I think I knew some of that, but I've really gotten to see that more in the past year. It's something I'm not really you guys. Like there's just no offense to my wife, Rochelle. She's amazing. But like we've done some things together, work-wise before, and we're like, I think we're going to just strangle each other. Like, right. It's just not going to that's not worth it. Mm-hmm. So I think they do. I think Brittany and Stephen Brown. There's a few other partners I can think of, people like that I'm kind of fascinated by. Like that's some next level partner stuff right there. So
I was telling my kids how me and Juana met last night because Valentine's Day and everything. They wanted me to tell them a story. I was telling them stories at night. I do better telling them real stories than reading because I don't know how to read. So I was telling them how me and Juana met, and we were working together, and we worked so well together. Like that was what attracted us together because she was the best busser in the whole restaurant, hands down. Best busser. I was the best server in the whole restaurant. I'm not going to say that because it doesn't it sounds stupid to say you're the best server at a restaurant. Like what the hell does that mean? But whenever they had contests and it was like who could sell the most of this special, I would sell that out before anybody could sell one or two of them. Always, hands down. Like I would win the cash, whatever award they were giving, every time they did at that restaurant. So we worked very well together. So it excites me to hear this. Like this is why I was so interested with Nicole and JW when I had them on, because of the way they have opposite roles, right? But when you're waiting tables, you're doing all the talking. You're not actually doing any work. You're just kind of talking to people, keeping them happy, like, making conversation and making it seem effortless. While Juana's in the background, cleaning the table, getting everything off. Like anybody finished the dish, she would get it out of the way. Anything they needed, she anticipated it. Before they needed their drink filled, she filled it up. She knew what they were drinking, like everything. And it was just like, she picked up everything where I left off. And I think that's a good partnership, is somebody who you complement each other in both ways. So like Nicole and JW takes care of the house, Nicole takes care of the business. And at work, they have their roles, and their roles reverse, and they switch at home. So, who's the boss at work? Nicole. Who's the boss at home? JW. And they know that about each other. And they, so I think that's also why it works. Like, that's why me and Juana work so well together, because I'm doing the same thing now. I'm just running my mouth, just talking, keeping everybody happy, while she's doing all the work, keeping everything together. So, I don't know. That's just my comments.
I'll share one other thing. Actually, hold on. We can get what's Nick's take. Like, could you work with, a significant other? Could you work with Mike in the business? Like, I mean, that's different. I mean, does that seem like no way, or?
I don't think Mike could do a computer job. He's more of a hands-on guy. He builds stuff, and I can't. Like right now, he's building out our master bedroom, or primary. Sorry, we can't say master anymore. Primary bedroom, because master. You're not supposed to use the word master.
Wait, you can't use the word master bedroom anymore? This is a thing?
No, yeah, that's a thing. You're not supposed
so what
to.
if we talk about masturbating? Like, are you allowed to do that? Are you still allowed to say that? Or is that not something
primary baiting?
Primary baiting. I'm primary baiting.
Right. Now that you think of it, why is it called masturbating? Anyway.
Because you're the master of your domain, right? Like that's and is that I'm allowed to say that or no?
I don't know. Now I'm thinking.
Oh man.
Anyway,
I'd hate to get canceled because I'm talking about jerking off. But let's just keep going.
He's building the closet, and he always wants to ask me all these questions, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't care. Just build it. And then as soon as he builds it, I complain about it. I'm like, there's not enough room
that
for
sounds
me.
about right.
And
that does
he got so upset at me the other day. He's like, all you do is complain. And I'm like, I'm just kidding. But like, I can't visualize it beforehand. It's like, but then once
the
it's
imagination
built,
gap.
I'm like, okay, yeah, my imagination gap is really big. And then when he's on the computer, he's like, with the two fingers pecking. It's very cute.
So I'm hearing 2 no's from 2 of us and 1 yes of like, you can make it. Yeah. Scott
you can make it work, but it's hard. It's difficult. And I know it's a struggle every day for some people sometimes to make it work, but it's reinforcing their understanding when they went into it. So one thing that I think it's money is a really big one. Money and finance, especially for married couples and for business partners. That was something that when we were meeting with the person that was going to marry us, I don't know if it was pastor or something like that. They had us take some questionnaires independently about how we thought of finance and just a lot of different money type scenarios. And our answers were identical. Like they matched up. They'd never seen anybody with the same, minds. Not never, but I like to exaggerate. So, but it was finance. And that's why things work ultimately still today, because of our perception on money, because everything else could kind of, I think, work itself out. But money is cash rules everything around me.
Yeah, Mike and I keep all of ours. Our finances are separate, other than what is joint in terms of shared expenses.
Simple tasks.
Sorry, just kidding.
I'll add one other thing to Nicole's question of what else in the last year has changed as partners, with more I guess it was the genesis of that question was fewer partners to more partners, like reflections, like, right. We may have touched on this a little bit, but like when you're by yourself, you definitely get to do whatever you want to do. You just kind of do. When you got one other partner, okay, well then you got to start thinking about them. Luckily, Matthew and I, in our case, are very aligned, and so we hold each other accountable. But we still kind of do what we want to do because we feel very similar about things.
I have a question.
But like, I've had to. I mean, we're instituting. Here's an example this year in 2023. Like, we're putting in place a regular shareholder meeting. Like, we're all us owners to look at the business on a regular basis, like not operational, nothing there. Of like, as the CEO need to run a shareholder meeting multiple times a year. We're implementing EOS, like, which other smaller firms have done that before us too. But like you guys are there. But like, we've had to put some things in place to build more structure. Like, and it's in the past, it was like, we kind of do whatever we get to want to do. And that's good. It's been a little hard for me, honestly. That's been tough. I've had to grow into that.
How about putting like all your travel that you do during the year? Anybody care about that? I feel like that would be a contentious point.
Yeah, that's absolutely something to think about. Typically, Matthew and I have somewhat traveled pretty close to each other. Like, we had to get our roles more defined, where I am conscious about that, because in my case, they're like, hey, it's your role. I've been kind of designated. You need to be out there in the community. There's value to you being in the accounting profession and community. Matthew does a good bit of it too. Actually, all partners do to some extent, but me the most for sure. And so I am careful about it, because there are some things I don't run through. I just take care of myself. I feel like there've been some things like, I'm not running through a whole bunch of stuff when I go out skiing with you guys, or we're down in Scottsdale. But if it's conference related, I typically will. So I do.
So you got to anchor it to some kind of actual legit event, because EO, you're traveling. Is that going through the business?
So I put my dues to the business. I pay for the travel myself.
Really?
That I consider professional. When it was just me and Matthew doing it, we actually both did put our travel through it as well too, because it's just the two of us.
Yeah.
So
I'm putting my travel
slippery
through
slope.
everything.
Yeah.
Those are those changes, right? You have to start thinking about. Now you can do some things. I've done these to where, but it just gets to be a lot of accounting. You start running different things through, like draws. Like, okay, well, cool. I'm going to go do a bunch of travel, or run a car payment or something through there, and someone else is not. You got to do some true ups, and you can always true a bunch of things up, but it just starts getting administratively funky. Whereas
that's going to be so hard
that's what I
for
don't
me.
want to deal with.
That's going to be so hard for me.
You just have to do that.
So that's the one thing that I told the guy. Like, I got my financial advisors that are like kind of helping facilitate this, and I said that's what terrifies me is I am running so much through. Like, I adjusted the numbers when I told you guys how much I made, because almost all of the operating expenses now, basically all the overhead expenses are probably could be considered or misconstrued as personal, right? Almost everything I'm running through, if it's not salaries, like, so I don't know. I don't know if I should be talking that much about it, but honestly, like that's the way I see it. That's the way they see it. Like, it's discretionary, right? You've got that. Everybody's got that. Owner's discretionary stuff. And so the before and after of that's going to be, okay, well, now do I have to take more out of the business as a distribution? And then that does mean that he, like anybody else would as well, if we stay in S Corp. But it's all of those questions are things that, like, I'm terrified of.
Yeah, and that's the thing that also impacts the relationship, because I had a client that I have the relationship with both of them, but like one would call me and be like complaining because the other one's running his car payment through, and like the other one's calling me and I'm in the middle, and then that builds resentment, and it's just like these little tiny things that create resentment. And that's, to your point, Scott, I think that's what I would be worried about too. Like, I don't care about the money. Like, I'm fine with that. It's all these little stupid things.
Yeah, it's the things that you wouldn't know you're doing.
Yeah.
Like,
bingo. You said it right there. It's freedom. Like, we all started our firms and practices to get freedom. Mm-hmm. And when little things, even if they're little, like, well, now I can't do this or I can't go there, it just, that becomes tougher. One thing I've seen that people have done, and this is something to consider, is the partners all becoming kind of their own entities. Like, right, you just have sub entities and be like, oh, it's Kenji Inc. is the member of Acuity, right? And you just start doing, say, sure, I've got my comp and distributions running back from Acuity into that. And if I want to go balling out with a vehicle and Matthew doesn't care about one, or I want to travel like crazy, there's some ways to kind of get like that. Now you're setting more tax returns, all that fun stuff. But like, there's some ways to do that.
Well,
that
we
might,
do taxes.
That might,
That's true. I've seen that before too.
But I've seen that smash down some of those things where if people live different lifestyles and they wanted to be clean on the distributions, you can.
So we were thinking of doing that to get out of Paget. We were thinking of Chris wanted to set up his own company, and then he's like, why don't you just sell it to me? I'll run that. And then if you want to, then you buy back into what you want and bypass the system. I'm like, that's not, so we're meeting with some attorneys to see if we could do that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But just things you got to think through. I mean, again, the value of getting great people as partners is huge. It's immense. But there are things you just have to.
Hey, Scott, if you sell Pageant, does Pageant get a...
So that's the thing. They're so
that?
concerned with people remaining a franchise if they buy the business, right? And I've never seen any new person buy a franchise. It's all incestuous. It's all franchises buying each other, right? So one person is hungry and they buy all the ones that are ready to retire, and they're dealing with a huge headache. Like it's hell every time they do one of these acquisitions. But this is another story for another day. Right now, it's like they are very concerned with somebody selling outside of the franchise, and a lot of people were buying or selling, or I don't know, they were buying out. They wouldn't let me leave. Like this is the whole point. Like I'm acting like a child. Like, here, don't tell me what I have to do or can and can't do. I can't. Now you're going to tell me I can't do this or I can't do that. Hell no. Like, let me be. Like, let me just be me. And they're like, well, it's not a good look. You can't leave. So this goes to that point, like not having the freedom to do whatever. Like, okay, now you're going to be more strict about this thing that I've been able to do forever. And now you're saying I got to do and comply and obey. And I'm like, I didn't sign up for this. Let me just be. So I don't know I don't know where I was going with that, but it was the fact that, man, I got amped up or I got worked up. Yeah.
Powered by, and then come up with a new brand and just have Paget be really small and then have the other brand.
Well, I like to talk about all this, but honestly, it doesn't bother me right now because I'm just not paying attention to it.
You do. If anybody who does what they want to do, it's Scott Scarano.
Yeah.
You're showing the world that for sure. Yeah, definitely.
But, I guess the point of that was it's up to them now. And so Chris and Matthew are the ones that are like making the decision or deciding, because they know that I will pay attention to the firm and I will care about what happens to the future, and I will help drive us to be better and to improve if it had our own name, if it could be Accounting Vice or just whatever the name actually is. This name as Paget it symbolizes, and everything else, it means that I can't do what I want, and I don't want that. So that's also why I don't pay attention to the firm. I care about it. I care about them, but it's ultimately up to them. And if they want to go through with that, I'm down, because then like I get to have fun again, and I get to do the creative stuff and be in charge of the marketing and be in charge of all of that. Like somebody else is going to tell me how we're going to market and what we're going to do. That like I don't participate then either way. But that proves that I probably wouldn't be a good person to partner with either, because I don't make concessions on some of those things. Like if somebody told me how to do Accounting High, I'd be like, all right, that's a great idea if I like it. If I don't, then I don't have to do it, right?
I think though that I've heard Blake talk about this. It does seem like it's happening in our space, is that it was always the notion historically that you had to have many, many partners to have firms. Like, right. And there is some truth to that, I believe, where if you're going to scale and grow pretty big, it does help to have some other partners there. I mean, whether that's from purposes of just capital, some decision making. But I think the historic traditional model of lots and lots of partners, right, that all of our friends and firms are running kind of against that a bit of like, man, those things can be 5-headed, 100-headed 1,000-person monsters, like just huge, and there's just so many logistics and bureaucracy in there. And I think people have rebelled against that. I think people are saying, you know what, I can keep this smaller, or I can maybe scale it a little bit differently, not have as many partners there. And again, I've heard, that's kind of a little bit, it's called cloud firms, really, because there's people that went after cloud technology, but it seems to be a little different to me that those are the firms that are the modern firms that are like, hey, I think there's a different way to think about ownership. And that ownership has looked a little more like traditional businesses. Like all of us are probably taking more cues from how to build our businesses from other non-accounting businesses.
Right.
That sounds right. I know I have. I don't know.
Oh, that's absolutely what you've been doing. And that's why we all look up to you, because you're a shining star in the accounting sphere, right? Like, you guys are growing to be, 10 million plus. That's a huge milestone to hit as a firm that's doing things differently, that's doing things in weird ways, right? Like, and it's weird in the eyes of accountants because traditionally speaking, this is how we've always done it. It's like what Lil Dicky did to rap. Like, traditionally speaking, that's the way it's been done for years and years. But he's like, well, I don't want to do it like that. The song was Snoop, Professional Rapper. And it's like, he did it differently. So I'm just bridging that in. But what I'm getting at is you've been unapologetically doing things differently and talking about it, sharing it. And this proves that works. And this starts to be like, this is where the dominoes start knocking off and chipping away at these bigger systems that won't break and won't budge because they're protecting the shareholders, the partners, and protecting their way of life, right? Like, and
yeah, I mean, it's just a different model. I feel like it's a little bit of a different objective a lot of us have. And so I think it's just a matter of whether it's me or others kind of ripping off from other industries or businesses, right? And I think there's probably some limitations, honestly, to the size that these modern firms can get to. I mean, we're kind of testing some upper boundaries, honestly, at Acuity. They're like, wow, it's starting to get just the complexity, and you need more people, and some things that sometimes make me question. I'm like, well, how big are we trying to get, and for what purpose, right? If my purpose is always around, I want to be free to do what I want to do with the people that I want to do it for as long as I want to do it, then like you go, wait a minute, is there a boundary or limit on that? Because man, kind of when you're a little smaller, there's a lot of flexibility you have. I mean, you get stuck with clients. A lot of us have to deal with that, but you just end up with. So I think everybody has to thinks a little bit differently about that. And I think, I don't know, it'd be interesting to watch over the next decade or so how big some of the modern firms get, or whether they kind of stay in this kind of loose conglomerate where we all help each other out, which is one of my favorite parts, honestly, about this kind of the modern firm era. We help each other way more than we compete. But I do think when you got to get bigger, I mean, it's hard not to look at all the private equity and everything else going on. It's a whole different discussion, and what that's doing to the partnership model of the big firms. I mean, that's wild, just so wild what's happening there. And it's just not, for me personally, it's not very appealing. I've done that before. Like, I don't want to, I mean, it's one of the reasons why it's not a bad model. It's just, I've already done it before. One of you, it may have been Nicole, talked about like and I so resonate with this. So maybe if it's not you, then someone else gets the props. But like, I just don't like boring. And I feel like something I've already done before, to me, like, is like, that's the worst thing to be.
We talked about this with Peloton classes, right? You don't do the same one.
I'm not good at doing the same stuff over and over again. I've already done public accounting. That's fine the old way. So I can't do that. It's tough for me. So
that's how I feel about the RAAPs or about anything else. Like, if I did something, if I get bored with it, or if I'm not digging it, then I don't do it. And, always looking for something different or something exciting or something fun. And that's how I've seen, this. I don't like, that's why I don't like processes and systems and following like the way of doing things, because I always want to do it differently. Even if I made up the system, I want to change it, and I want to see if there's a better way to do it or a different way.
Yeah.
This is why I can't mess around in the firm, because I create something and then I get bored of it, and then I want to change it, and then everybody gets frustrated. So
I feel like I'm less driven by size and revenue and more driven by being the best and impact.
Ooh,
Like, I just wanna
being
be
the
the
best
best.
and impact. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Profit, impact, and just being the best. That's my goal. I feel like I got some clarity around that actually within the last week.
Ooh, I'm excited for us to do our
Ooh,
new
that is
purpose
pretty good,
episode.
yeah.
Do you know where you were when you figured that out? Like, do you remember what was going through your head?
I feel like whenever I get cleared around something, it's usually been happening for a while, and then there's like a definite moment where I'm like, okay, like it's been in front of me the whole time, and now I've decided this is it. And then I change my mind. Like
Watch
2
the
weeks later.
mic with the paper. The
Oh,
listener,
sorry. I'm
the
too much-
listeners are
I'm
going to get
fidgety.
upset. Definitely, Heather Smith comments to me. She gives me the best critiques. Don't do stuff. I was chewing one day, or I was like eating, and she pointed that out to me. So, thanks, Heather. I'm actually thanking her because I do understand as a listener. I don't want to hear the paper.
Can I ask a quick question? I'll ask. I'm super intrigued by Nicole's response. But like, so when you say impact, like, what do you know? Are you able to? I know it's only been like a week. Are you able to define like what impact? I hear that word and I'm like, oh, that resonates with me too. But like, I wonder what that means. I don't know what it means
Good
for
question.
me entirely.
Great
but what does it
question,
mean
yeah.
for you?
Yeah,
Like,
that's a great question. I'm gonna have to sit on that. I'm not gonna give you an answer, and I'm gonna think about it
I can tell you what I mean.
because that's an important. Go ahead.
So Byron said the same thing to me. You know, what are the things that matter most? When I was talking to him around the time he was going to start helping out, and he said moving the industry forward and having impact. And I feel like for me, impact means to reach a larger audience. So to me, it's a larger audience, meaning you can have more, you can impact, I don't want to use the word impact to explain it, but you can change, you can reach more people and have a better chance of changing something through the power in numbers rather than just trying to do it in your own little corner. I think by spreading the new ideas and the better way of doing things, you're going to have more fulfillment too, because you're going to inspire people to change. And by you being inspired, because you've inspired somebody else, that's in turn feeds back into why you're doing this in the first place. And that's the best feeling in the world. So then to continue doing that, and that feedback loop only goes up. There's no way that you're not like continually driving by that. With money, it's a different thing. Money can bring you down, and making more money or growing bigger just for you and not for other people around you and not doing things for others is selfish first, but it's also, it could downward spiral too. And people get depressed and they feel alone and they feel lonely. So to me, impact is more people and more reach and more connections.
I think in my mind, I had a certain revenue goal because I backed into, okay, this is how much profit I want to make. And then in my mind,
$1 million a year, right?
I was factoring in the extra amount we need to make in revenue in order to compensate my team, how much I wanted to compensate them, like Ashley included in that. But I never articulated that to Ashley. And then we had a conversation last week that was like, that's why I had that number in my mind, because I had kind of calculated what I knew that you wanted to make. And so we had like a really good conversation last week that gave me a lot of clarity.
Those are good ones. I like those conversations too. And I think people just assume we want to grow for growth's sake. When you can actually have a conversation about like, well, I'm doing it. Here are the reasons actually. And whether it's supporting team members and their goals and their compensation, or reaching more clients in a vertical that you care about, whatever it might be. Like I've underestimated that too. Like, I just go create a goal and I got to grow this thing. But like linking the why for people makes a bigger difference than I used to realize. Like when they're like, oh, okay, I get why we're growing. I get why because growth, there's going to be some suffering and some challenge and all that stuff in there. But they're like, oh wait, you're doing it because like, you want me to make more money? They're like, oh sweet. Like, I'm down with that. Like, let's go.
Yeah. And you have to start with your personal goals, right? And then back into, okay, what does that mean business wise?
Yeah. So
yeah.
Let's,
my personal goals are to hang out with you guys once a month. Takeaways are, one, you have to align on values.
Have to.
Most important, right? And then, so it sounds like takeaways are, one, you have to align on values.
Have to.
Most important,
That's
right? And then two, you have to complement each other.
Yeah, I think that's right. You don't always agree on everything, but like we're pretty aligned there, and you need to start doing. I had to find that I had to start doing more things to really make sure we've got alignment on future state things.
So I have Ashley, right? And we've talked about the partnership potentially one day. And it's not something I'm ruling out. It's not, for me, it's not about the money, right? It's just more about the potential risk and having somebody else being part of making the decisions. And it's like working well, just me as it is. But at the same time, I do feel like she's a core part of the growth.
There's some people who don't want to be a partner. They don't want that. I've always been surprised by that, because I think that's a mistake I've made that we make sometimes as firm owners. Like, oh, well, doesn't everybody want to do this? Actually, less people want to do this than we think. We think just because we do, other people do.
Right.
And I've had a lot of people who are like, how about you just let me have a great job here that I like and you pay me fairly? Like, I'm cool with that.
I have the last say on what the answer is. Sometimes I don't want to. And I was like, you guys figure it out. I don't know. Why do I always have to be the last person to come up with the answer on this?
Yeah. I can't do it alone anymore. But meaning like, and I don't know if it is giving them equity, because I want something new too. It just doesn't excite me. Nothing in our current situation excites me anymore. I'm just kind of tired. Wow.
Wow, that's depressing.
Nice one to end on. Yeah,
that's depressing. Nice. I did that intentionally, though. I clipped this together. I skipped the middle portion of the clip because I just wanted to keep moving things along because I like where the conversation's going. Yeah. So, reactions.
It sounds like we're actually all kind of in similar places. I mean, there's a few things we've thrown in there that have maybe changed a bit, but like it seems like everyone's. I think you're still telling us, Scott, that
you're tired.
You're.
I actually can articulate it better now.
That you hate being alone. You don't like being. That's what I keep hearing from that one. It's like you don't want to do things by yourself.
Absolutely not. And I think I've just learned more in the 12 months. It feels like 12 years. In the 12 months since we recorded, I'm in a much better place in my understanding of what I want too, because I didn't know then. I knew at the core, I didn't want to be alone. I knew at the core that I wanted to do something else. Now I have a lot of clarity of what that other thing is, and I know what I want for them too, and I want what I want for, once you know what you want for yourself, then you can really take care of others. And I've said that repeatedly, like on the show, and I think in the middle clip that I took out, we touched on that too. Once you really can handle your, then you can handle for others, right? And I took some time to figure that stuff out for me, because I hit a wall, I hit a ceiling with the firm. It wasn't about growth anymore. It wasn't about I needed a larger purpose. I needed a bigger, I needed something bigger. I needed something outside of that, because that to me was about money. And the whole time, that's what it was. It wasn't like fulfillment. It was making money. I loved working with the clients, but then when I was not working with the clients anymore, what else is there? Like, what is this? Really just about making money and running a business and growing a business? Like, I don't want to do that. I could do that anywhere. I could do that with other things. I can make money other places. If it's not really about, I'm going to say touching people, and I don't mean that in a Michael Jackson way, but if it's not about touching people, and if it's not about actually helping people and working with them and seeing the difference that you're making with people real time, then what is there?
Sorry, I'm still thinking about Michael Jackson, but
I love Michael Jackson. I mean, I that show that we went to in Vegas, that Kenji, I'm upset that you missed it. Man, I was with what's his name, Killian, and it was just incredible. It was incredible. Yeah.
How did you feel about it, Nicole? Never mind, we know how you felt about it.
Yeah, you left. So I don't know. Like, again, I think this time next year may not be as big of a shift, because I think, at least for me personally, I'm locking into some of my mindsets, and I'm evolving enough to where I could actually articulate, and I don't think I'm going to change that much more in the near future. I think, Kenji, you've probably gone through changes like this in your life where you change your mindset around certain things and it impacts you. Because you did talk about that when you know, from your first partner to from your, there was one clip that I didn't finish playing where you were talking about how, you know, you had to gain that confidence to know what you were doing was right because it was so experimental and so different. And, you know, it took working with Matthew to be able to really fulfill that and understand what you wanted personally too, because you were confused early on, or at least like not confused, but, you know, think about the reaction. This is, again, I always bring back to Dave Barrett, like what he was saying, because they do things so differently. And you have to have a armor, like a shield of like, not just confidence, but like resolve, and to know what you're doing is so experimental that other people are going to like attack it in certain ways because they don't get it and they don't understand. Like, you know, so I don't know. I don't know exactly where I want to end with that one, but I want to let you pick up where I left off there.
I'll just say something I'm trying to get better at. I think I do okay at it, but I really, really like being around people who are willing to change their mind. So I'm just trying to, you know, I think that's when you're experimental, you're kind of saying like, I am totally down for if this works and maybe it wasn't what I thought was going to work. I'm up for it. Like, right. Just being able to experiment and try things out. And I don't know. I respect people who are like, oh, that changed my mind, or I had a different experience that I'm like, I'm willing to think differently about something. So I think to me, that's experimentation, like having a culture where you experiment a lot. And that does give you confidence, because I guess that confidence comes in, not that, boy, everything I say is smart or right, but like, if I find a better answer, I'm going to do that. Like, I don't get hung up with, well, I said this before and now I sound stupid, because I'm like, cool, I found a better way forward. But I don't know. When I hear about that, to me, that's the confidence I think of. Like, I'm just okay being wrong about things. Like, that's not a big deal. Like, I'd be less okay as I've gotten older, like just being set in my ways and not being willing to change. Like, that's, to me, I think probably when I was younger, I feared more like, oh, I don't know, and I'm not confident, whatever. Now I'm like, I cannot get stuck in my own ways. That would be worse. So I don't know if that's kind of where you were kind of at with that, Scott, but that's kind of how I took it.
Oh, no, I love that. I fear, am I set in I always question that. Like, are there blind spots that I have where I actually am set in my ways and stubborn that I'm not rethinking or not looking at differently? Like, and so sometimes I try to examine that to see, do I have some blind spots? Do I have some blinders up where I'm like, maybe it's my music choice. Like, maybe I like, you know, my whole life I've been listening to rap, hip hop, right? And I always bring this.
You're
back
just
to
like
that.
me, Scott, right? You don't can't stand country, but I'm trying to be more open to it.
Right,
now.
me too. That's what I was getting at. That's exactly what I was getting at. Like, I could never stand. We're from the South, so it's either one or the other. Where it's like it's almost like I'm trying to, and I really am. But then I just listen to it. I'm just like I almost like I make fun of it. Like, and I look at it differently. Like, and I Kenji, that's I knew you knew where I was going with this. Like, but think about our parents too.
With that one. Yeah.
But think about it. I'm like, so my dad thought he was a rebel in his music choices because his dad didn't like what he listened to, Beatles and the things that he listened to. I loved what my dad listened to, yet he didn't like hip hop, and he still doesn't, like, to this day, doesn't like see it the way I do, and doesn't like, never embraced it. So I wonder, and that's what I feared with K-pop. Like, I didn't want to not like it just because it was different when Julia was listening to it. So I actually do like it, but not that much. Like, she wants to go to a concert in Atlanta, and I'm like, I don't know if I really, or Charlotte. I think it's Charlotte, actually. And I was like, I don't really care about $300 a ticket for K-pop. I don't like it that much. Like, so I was just like, maybe, but we'll see.
Next time, come with me to the Philippines. My next trip there, and you'll experience a lot of K-pop.
But I do like K-pop though. I love Blackpink.
Okay,
I love Blackpink, and BTS I can get behind too. But Blackpink, that's my shit. I love Blackpink. So I don't know. Like, you got to have an open mind to everything in life, I think. Because then you're not going to expose yourself to something that you might really like. And that's partnerships.
P-ships.
P-ships. We're going to ship the peas.
Can I share one last thing before then I got to go? And we can, you guys may be mad at me because I didn't mention this, but I'm going to mention to you guys here first. Like, when's this episode going to drop, by the way?
It's probably could drop next week, as soon as next week, or
Okay.
I think this is it's on Mondays now. So expect Varsity Tips on Mondays. Varsity Party will replace the Tips volume, but this is Varsity Party Volume 2, How to RAAP, RAAP.
How to RAAP.
That's what the title's going to be. How to RAAP. It's like Partners Part 2. Partners 10, we're going to call this Partners 102, and then colon, How to Run an Accounting Practice, in parentheses, RAAP.
And dropping all kinds of grammatical things. Yeah, nice. Okay, I'll just share this one. I'm sharing with you guys here first because it just happened today, and it's something that would not have happened had it not been for all the great partners I have and all the people. And it's been in the works for so long. I've been a little frustrated with it, but we just got announced today, formally, that we have finally become a B Corp. And it's too long to get into all the stuff and what that is. I'd be happy to talk about it again, but I may as well announce it here, and that way people will be like, "Wait, what is he talking about?" I'm happy to come back and talk about it again, but like. That's been a big deal, something we've been working on. And maybe that's why when Nicole talked about impact, like that was. Thank you very much. Man. It's taken a long time, but that's always fun. It's always fun to share things with friends, good things with friends, and you guys are good. I mean, didn't quite fit in the partnership conversation. I didn't want to derail things, but that was a big deal for me and for us as a firm. That we'll announce later this week as the firm, but I think that's got something in that impact piece that you mentioned. That so
that's awesome.
We'll see.
That's dope. That's
share
been a long time coming. That's
my
like
Valentine's Day friends.
Valentine's surprise. That's a big surprise because you hadn't been talking about that at all. The last time we even talked about it's
been a sore spot. Honestly, it's been so long, taking so long, and I catch a lot of heat internally. Matthew loves grilling me on it. Like, where the hell's that coming? I'm like,
well, that's because it matters. It really does matter to you. And when you first, discussed it with me, I would be lying if I didn't say that I was already looking at it because I had a client that was doing it. And then I found out that I couldn't because Paget wasn't a B Corp and Paget had no interest in being a B Corp at all. And that was the other big, like decision factor for me. Of, okay, now my firm can't be a B Corp because you guys don't want to be this. I'm out. Like, can I? So I'm sorry to keep
great.
making
What
it about
did I
that.
just stir up again here?
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But congratulations. This is so dope.
No, thanks.
Super exciting.
I'll let you know what happens with it. So,
Nick,
we'll see.
I needed some kind of like closure for you for the episode. You've been very quiet today. You got to give me your summary. Give our listeners your summary. We need your hot tips and takes for this varsity.
I'm already ranking this
I don't know why
I'm already ranking this episode.
Yeah, he is. He's just going to hear me and him the whole time. He doesn't want to hear that.
Yeah. I don't know. When Kenji's here, I just let Kenji talk.
You cede the floor.
Because he's smarter than I am. Wrapping it back up where I started.
Stop doing. There she is trying to make us
more wise than I am.
See, that's both of us on this episode, Scott, which was how we know that that's not the case.
I know it's not the case.
I do too.
At Accounting High, we're doing a bracket challenge. I don't know if you guys have heard.
Really? No way.
Wait, what?
I have not heard about that at all.
This is a tournament that we're running. It's kind of like the NCAA tournament.
Oh, really?
But it's a bracket challenge for accounting firms and accountants to nominate their top 5 favorite things that make their accounting life better, their favorite accounting things. And we got a nomination for Accounting High, even though I always say this, and I think I'm saying this because I like people voting for us too, but I don't want to ask them to. So people are voting for us, but I don't think we can be in it, right?
I think you can. It's like when people write blogs about their company. It's like
I didn't think people actually would vote for us, though. That was why I kept saying it. I was like, I didn't want to feel bad if people didn't. So we got a testimonial for Accounting High. Hi, Nicole. A lot of fun and refreshing take on current topics with a delightful candor. Love Nick's takedown of the subscription pricing and how to maximize the conference circuit as 2 examples. So that's somebody who voted for us. Yeah.
Was that Whirling?
Yeah, it's Whirling. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Who's Whirling?
Thanks, Mark. You're the best.
Hey, Mark. What's up, MW?
Haven't talked to him in a while.
Yeah. Well, he's awesome. Thank you for voting for us, Mark. Nicole, so give us your. I'm just sharing because you got listeners out there. They want to hear you. They're
What do
cheering
you want
now.
me to say?
This is like
You have to ask
encore.
me a question.
What has you? So, to summarize,
Summarize,
your thoughts
about
on
partners?
partnerships? Yeah,
My thoughts on partnerships. To summarize is that I want to be moving in the same direction that my team is moving. Ashley is obviously a huge part of the business, and I am confident that there will be a solution that's going to keep us both aligned, and we are going to do magic together, just like we always have, and it's going to be fun. We're just going to keep having fun.
And having impact.
Creating impact. And I will
And
get more
profit.
clear on what that means to me, because I think that's a really good question, Kenji.
Being the best firm and having lots of profit. All those
Having
things.
fun. Having
I
fun,
think-
really. It is about
Nicole,
having fun
you
for
will
me.
know when you find your purpose. So when I asked you, do you remember the moment and what you were doing and saying and with who with?
I do.
You do? Or you say you do, or you don't know if you actually found it yet?
I think I'm close.
I think you're close too.
I think I'm close.
I think you'll know when you do, but you're close. You're like right at the precipice. Like you're right there. And once you do, it'll be like an orgasm. It'll be like an orgasm. Once you find it and once you see it, like you see the light, it'll be like
gonna
one of
find your
those like
special purpose.
Yeah, it'll like you really will have found your purpose, right? That's how it felt for me, at least when I found mine. It's a perfect
When you're
climax.
primary
Perfect
baiting?
climax for the the perfect climax to the Valentine's special. This is our second annual occurrence of the Valentine's Day special. The VD3 signing off.
Off.
He's out.
See you next year.
She's already ready to leave. She already got her
I hope-
Uber. She's ready to go.
I'll just say this. I hope everybody on Valentine's Day finds their special purpose today.
Hell yeah. All you listeners out there, find your purpose. We love you. Thank you for listening.